Well, good morning. It is Sunday morning, and I am sitting out here at my shop. I like to come out here every day after work, and I'll come out here on Sunday mornings before I go to church and just sort of reminisce, just sort of think back over the past week. And for me, this is a peaceful place. I find myself, and I found myself through last week thinking a lot about perseverance, about keeping on, about not quitting. And it seems like we live in a day and age today to where quitting is just becoming easier and easier. Everything is centered around creature comforts. When you go in your house and you got your remote control, so you don't have to get up and change the channel on your TV. You've got a refrigerator, a really nice freezer. I love my freezer. I love the ice maker. Everything, the lights. I mean, everything is centered around making your life and my life easier, more comfortable. And sometimes we get used to that comfort. And when we go through times of discomfort, when we're taken out of our comfort zone, we want to quit. We want to make sure that we stay within our comfort zone. And sometimes I believe that God calls us out of our comfort zone. Sometimes God calls us to take a step into places that are often uncomfortable. I never will forget when I was growing up. My dad retired from the military, and he had retired, and he bought a store in small town Alabama, and it was a convenience store. It had a gas station. It had a oil. We changed oil, we changed tires, changed brakes, and I learned at a very young age how to work on cars. I mean, at least as far as doing brakes and just basic things, oil changes, tires. And I worked in that store from sixth grade through 12th grade. Now, I thought it was a form of child abuse back in those days because minimum wage was like $3.35, and my dad paid me $2 an hour. And I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait to go into the military. And so, anyway, 12th grade came, and I signed up, joined the military. I went to basic training, and basic training wasn't that difficult for me. We probably had about 80 people in our company, and I think we might have lost five or six. I mean, maybe there were 8 or 9 people that quit. I don't remember. That was back in the 80s. But after basic training, I had signed up for a job that required several schools that were quite difficult, and I knew they were going to be difficult. But I was 18 years old. I thought I was pretty tough and didn't think I'd have any problems. And I got to one of those schools, and it was a school that I think it was 14 weeks long. And the very first day we arrived, I never will forget, we arrived on Tuesday, or I arrived on Tuesday, and the class started on Thursday morning. And on Thursday morning, you had to be out on the grinder. The grinder was like a parking lot. You had to be on the grinder and at attention. And it seemed like it was at 5 o'clock in the morning. We had to be out there to start the class. And we were standing out there at attention at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the instructors came running out of the buildings, and they were screaming and hollering. And over the next few hours, we were doing a lot of push-ups and running and set-ups and getting screamed at. And I decided by Thursday at about 12 o'clock noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that this place wasn't for me. I decided I was going to quit. I didn't want to do it. And but I told myself, I told my mom and dad what I was going to do, and I said I'm gonna hang in there until Saturday morning, because Saturday morning I've got a phone call, and they were going to give us a phone call, let us call home, tell them we had arrived, that we had already started training, and that everything was good. And I was going to call and tell them, yeah, I had arrived and everything was good, but I was quitting. And I wanted to talk to my mom. Now, my mom was just a loving mom. She passed away last year. My mom would say, if I would have talked to her, I knew that she would say, yeah, you need to quit. You need to get out of there. I don't want you doing that type of work. And yeah, you just go ahead and quit, and you come home if you can. But I knew my dad would be the opposite. My dad would say, son, don't you quit. Don't you ever quit. If you sign up for it, you make sure you do it. And anyway, I got up that Saturday morning, and I called, and the mom and dad, Alabama, they lived in Alabama. They were a couple of hours ahead of the time at the school where I was at. But I called probably at about 10 o'clock Alabama time. I don't remember. And I just expected to talk to my mom. And my dad answered. And I said, hey, Dad, I said, I'm just here. I've only got a couple of minutes. I'm here, safe, everything's good, but I need to talk to Mom. And he says, well, son, he said, your mom's not here. He said, she went to town, to Auburn, Alabama, to the mall with Darnell Humphrey. I never will forget it. And That was Mom's best friend in the community, and they had gone to the mall. And I contemplated for just a second on, I thought, well, should I tell Dad? And I finally decided to tell Dad. So I said, Dad, listen, I said, I'm not going to make it through this school. I don't want to do this anymore. This has been a very rough 2 days, and I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to go somewhere else. I don't care, but I'm going to quit. And my dad, I never will forget what he said. He was silent for just a few seconds, and he said, son, he said, let me just tell you this, and just think about it before you quit. He said, I want to tell you this. He said, now remember, he had spent 24 years in the military himself, touring Vietnam, several different tours here and there. And he said, son, he said, if you quit, it just becomes easier and easier to quit the next time. So if you quit now, it'll just become easier to quit tomorrow. And he said, there's times where you just got to suck it up and deal with it. You just got to suck it up, and you've got to get through it. And he said, you've told everyone, your family and your friends here, that what you were going to be, what you were going to do. And they believe that's what you're going to do. They believe that's what you're doing. And you come home and you tell them that you're not doing that you quit. And they're not going to realize how difficult the training was. They're just going to remember that you quit the training. And that'll sort of be a quit in the quit column for your life. And my dad used to say that everyone had a win and a loss column, and I taught my kids this as they were growing up. A win is graduating from high school. A win is graduating from college. A win is doing well in life. A win is being a good person. A win, all these different wins. And then you've got losses. The losses are mistakes. And we're all going to have wins and we're all going to have losses, but you want to try to have as many wins or more wins than you have losses in life. My dad would always say that. But he said, son, before we get off the phone, he said, I want you to think about this, and you just remember, where does quitting stop if you quit? And so I thought about that weekend, and it seemed like we had just cleaning the barracks that weekend. I don't remember, but we didn't have instructors screaming at us, and we weren't doing PT, physical training. And I think Sunday morning I went to chapel. We came in and probably had to clean barracks, probably got to write letters, I don't remember. But I had time to think about it, and I decided I was going to stay. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to try it. And so Monday morning, I decided at breakfast that I was just going to try to make it to lunch. And when lunch came, I decided I was going to try to make it to supper. When supper came, I was going to make it till the next morning at breakfast. And for 14 weeks, I did that every single day. I was just trying to make it through lunch, from lunch to dinner, from dinner to breakfast, from breakfast to lunch. And somehow, in some way, I made it through that training. And I don't know how I did, but I did. And it was a very important lesson for me that sometimes we have to just stick to what we have committed to doing. Sometimes you just, as bad as it is, as hard as life it can become, we've got to just stick to the commitments that we make. Now, there are times in life when it's good to quit. I've got a friend right now who has been dipping snuff for 25 years, and he's trying to quit, and he hasn't had a dip in 4 weeks, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to quit something that is causing us physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual problems. But we don't just quit because things get tough. We don't just quit because we're outside of our comfort zone. And when I think about quitting, I'm reminded there's been several times in my life I was not a good high school student. I never wanted to study. I just wanted to get out of school. I wanted to go in the military, and but I got out of the military after 5 years, and I started going to college. I don't even think I had the confidence to make it through at that time. I just wanted to draw the GI Bill. The military would pay you so much money, and plus I was in the reserves, and I could get paid to go to school. And so that's what I did, and went to school for several years, but I wasn't going to quit. I might get kicked out for grades, but I wasn't going to quit. And somehow, in some way, I made it, and I got a degree, and went on to get 2 master's degrees and a doctorate degree. And every person probably in the class when I was getting my master's degrees and my doctorate degree was probably smarter than me. I wouldn't quit. I would stick to the commitment that I'd made. And I try to remember that now, because there's so often in life today I think about, sometimes you go through hardships, and I work in the hospice field, and I can't tell you how often I think about quitting hospice. I mean, I'll think, man, this is a rough time. I'm going through a rough area. I lose someone that I'm very close to, and I'm just going to quit. But then I have to think. I have to sort of assess the situation. Why am I quitting? Am I quitting because I want to be more comfortable, or am I quitting because this is causing physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual issues? And on the hospice field, it's usually because I'm just uncomfortable. And so I say, okay, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stick in there. I'm going to stick this week out or this month out. And normally things get better. And we see that in life, that God allows us to go through good times, and God allows us to go through bad times. And you've heard me say this before. I say it all the time, that God never wastes an experience in your life. God uses both the good and the bad in your life to create who you are today. And where we have to make a decision is we have to make a decision on how we're going to use those experiences, who we've become today. Are we going to use those experiences to glorify God? Or are we just always going to be, not willing to learn and not willing to change, and just sort of hide our past failures? God wants us to take the good and the bad and to use those to glorify Him through our future. And I'm just reminded of that almost on a daily basis. But I hope you have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.